Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. This week we're talking about marketing your Etsy store. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. I am your host, Joe Cifuentes, joined by Travis Ross. Travis, it's good to see you again. We are back in the regular formatting that everyone's used to, except you have a new backdrop behind you. Just a brick wall. Just you're from a cold basement. There's no longer clocks or paintings on the wall. Literally just the bricks.
Yeah, I no longer at the office, so in the basement now, and at some point maybe I'll kind of give you a little tour. My wife actually has been doing a lot of painting, and so she's got her little art studio over
Oh,
here.
sure.
And then I have kind of a little, I don't know, there's some presses and different things like that, and some printers and some computers. And then in my garage I have some more stuff. So yeah, we've made the transition. I'm officially here. I'll probably go to the shop a couple more times just to facilitate some more sales of some stuff, and
Sure.
there's a couple more pieces of equipment. But for the most part, we're up and running here. It's still not totally, perfect or anything. I need some drawers and
Right.
things to keep my stuff. But overall, yeah, I just literally hung this curtain thing behind me because otherwise it was a big white thing that just looks dumb. And I've always wanted a cool brick wall backdrop, and I just couldn't do it at the shop because of the way
Right.
the
Yeah,
walls
the
went.
walls were weird.
So yeah, so I just, I said, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah,
do it here because I
that's it.
can. I'm
Now's the
also
time.
sporting the
Yeah,
old
it's
school
vintage.
print on demand cast patch hat there.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are not sold in stores. So
No, that was that's the old vintage logo. Depending on how long you've been a part of the show or been following the show, you know that our first iteration of the logo was
mhm,
it looked just like what's on Travis's hat, but it was like a blue and black and red ink splotch kind of around the
mhm.
letters, and it was it was passable
It was all
for
right.
the fact. Look, we didn't know what was going to happen with this. Okay, but once we figured out that there's at least 4 people that listen consistently, we thought overhaul the whole thing and do, do a makeover and go retro, because Travis and I are both fans of nostalgia and
Sure.
retro. So so yeah, it's good, man. Good to be back in normal format. How was your weekend? Today is Tuesday. Yes, it is Tuesday, right? Is today Tuesday?
Yep.
Someone tell me.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. How was your weekend? How was the drive to California? Flight back. How was all of the travels?
Yeah, I was back on Tuesday night last week from California. But it was just nuts. Every day was crazy last week, and my band played on Friday night at this really cool beer fest out in Windsor. Had a
Hmm.
blast out there, and had a bunch of local stuff that, because I was transitioning from the shop to home, it was really hard to do the actual production. And so I had a lot of production that kind of had built up, locally, and there were some
Yeah,
deadlines, so I had to spend a lot of time Thursday night, and then Friday. It was just a crazy weekend.
sure.
Um, and then, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I had to kind of meet the deadlines and then also move the stuff. So
Right.
yeah, it's been a lot of work, and I'm kind of excited that it's starting to slow down a little bit, and maybe I can find my new normal sometime soon. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. It's good to know that you're there in the house in the basement, and at least your commute's cut down by a lot for a little bit anyway.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, let's get into the show then. We've got a lot here on the plate. Depending on how quickly we move through this, how much we do or do not talk, but let's be real. we're probably going to talk. So who knows? This could be a 2-part episode, depending on how things go here. But anyway, we are going to get right into it with this week's point of interest.
Well, howdy, partner. Welcome to the point of interest part of the POD cast. So grab your hat and hold on tight, because we got some learning to do.
All right, so this week's point of interest has to do with AI. Oh my God, everyone's shocked. We never talk about AI on the show. What are you guys doing? Throwing in something brand new like that? Well, my friends, that's a joke. And if you've been a part of the show, you know that we talk about AI pretty frequently. But this particular iteration or this particular brand or version of AI, we're talking about Adobe Firefly. Now, this is something that we talked about handful of episodes ago in the point of interest, showed a video kind of highlighting what it potentially could do or could be. And from what I know or what I can ascertain, I guess, this is also probably the same thing that influences the Adobe generative fill inside Photoshop, but it's not really branded that way. That's just another feature, but it's all AI, obviously. So I'd assume they're tied together. So we did a video about the insanity that is a generative fill using Photoshop's AI system. So now, just recently, it's become official that Adobe Firefly, which is the name of the software, is out of beta. It's officially available on the market. It's available to download or to use or to take advantage of for your liking. Now, here's something I will say on the front end. I was going to put this on the bottom of at the bottom of the notes, but according to Adobe's PR reps or executives, Firefly has been used already to generate over 2 billion images
Nuts.
using that software, which is just absolutely crazy. So if you haven't kind of garnered or understood or ascertained by now, Firefly is Adobe's AI image generator. And you're all asking yourselves, cool, how much does it cost? Well, they're going to use what's called generative credits to measure how often users interact with it. So, for example, when you type in a prompt and hit generate, it's going to cost a single credit. So, there's no real documentation that I could find about what you have to pay to get. I'm assuming it's like, virtual currency on PlayStation Plus's store. It's like $20 for 5,000 virtual credits or whatever. So it could be something like that. But if you already have an Adobe plan, if you're using it, if you subscribe to Creative Cloud or have a Creative Cloud app like Photoshop or Premiere, whatever that looks like, you will have access to some of these credits. And it's varying, I guess, depending on what you have. So, if you have a single app like a Photoshop or Premiere Pro or After Effects, you'll get 500 of these credits, these generative credits to use. If you got all cloud apps, it's 1,000. Adobe stock paid subscription, 500 credits. So, it kind of varies throughout. And maybe we could link the article that we pulled some of this from so that you guys can kind of peruse this and read it for yourselves. But if you've got, Creative Cloud Pro Plus, all the apps that way, it's 3,000 credits, generative credits for you to use at your whimsy. So you could do whatever you want with those.
Yeah, so I actually just clicked my Creative Cloud here on this computer, and there was an update available. And in the update notes, it was saying that it was basically an update to add the ability to download Firefly. So I am actually updating it right now, and I'll tell you here in a second. Says it's going to relaunch. So
sweet.
Prove it, Adobe, and tell me what you got. So it doesn't look like it's relaunching. Well,
don't let that deter you from looking at Firefly for yourself. But here's the thing. So
that's just kind of the. I was just gonna say that's kind of the way things go. On this, when you try to do stuff live.
Yeah, we didn't prepare that, but hey. Did it work?
It's actually it's loading now, so we'll see what happens.
All right.
I want a queen.
Don't we all? All right. So Here's the thing: if you run out of those credits, though, you won't lose access to it. It's just going to run much slower. And the reason behind that is because obviously it's cloud based, and they want to make sure that those who are actually using the credits or have paid for the credits get top priority in who gets their images, kind of their wishes fulfilled first in this AI generator. So it's kind of a way of throttling, right? If you don't have the credits, you'll still use it, but it's going to run much slower. I don't know what that means compared to what is my question. We'll find out. But until November 1st, Adobe users subscribed to Creative Cloud will not be subject to credit limits. I think it worked. From the look
I
on
think it
Travis'
worked.
face, he hit land.
I have the ability to open or download or open Adobe Firefly. So
Oh my God.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Exactly. So long sleep. Yeah. So yeah, if until November 1st, if you are subscribed, you don't have to worry about credit limits. After November 1st, they'll kind of put those credit limits into place. And check this out. This is the crazy part to me. Adobe has said that they will take on any IP violations that are created because of this software.
That's crazy.
Which is absolutely crazy. Or, huge. Absolutely insane. I mean, that's talk about backing your product and kind of sticking to your or sticking helping your constituents, your customers, whatever you want to say. But that is crazy. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, it's they said that a while back, and I really feel like they were trying to get ahead of I mean, there was a lot of talk about copyright and infringement and all that stuff when AI was first coming out, and I think Adobe just said, you know what, we're going to be the leaders in this, and we got the money to hire all the lawyers that we need.
Exactly.
So we'll just be the leaders in this, and I really feel like they're probably setting the stage for everybody else that's in the AI image generation game to follow suit. Because I mean, otherwise everybody will just use Firefly. I mean, if assuming it's good, but I'm pretty dang sure just based on generative fill and Photoshop on its own, Firefly is going to rock. So I can't wait to start testing it and giving it some prompts, especially before that November 1st.
Use the
time, so
crap out of it.
exactly. Learn all of the prompts.
First.
And just see what it can do. And it'll be interesting to see, what I can make with it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see the end product. So go check that out. Again, we'll link this in the show description so you can go read the article. But look into it. Again, there's tons of AI, generators out there, image generators, and there's tons of them. I think recently I even shared a video from RJ, our friend RJ over at RJ Hustles, about some AI generators that he uses, and maybe we'll have him on the show to kind of talk more about his experience with AI, since it's become much more prevalent since the last time we chatted with him here on the show. So all that being said, we're going to go from that point of interest to this main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right. So, Travis, this week, main event, marketing your Etsy store. Everyone loves Etsy. It seems like when we make an episode about Etsy, that listenership count skyrockets comparatively to the rest. And I'm pretty sure it has to do with Etsy. And that's not necessarily why we decided to speak about Etsy, but it's just a trend that I've noticed. So,
right. Yeah, me too.
Etsy is wildly popular, obviously. Still a very useful platform, kind of a lower barrier of entry, which we've talked about when getting into POD. And a lot of people seem to be very interested in ways that you can effectively launch and sustain and sell on an Etsy channel. And like one of the most challenging things in print on demand can be marketing. I think we've talked about that a lot of time, especially if you're kind of running at this thing solo, or maybe there's one or two people, like back in the What For Apparel days, marketing was important. But if I didn't print shirts until midnight, there'd be nothing to market. So I had to print shirts till midnight. And marketing always seems to take kind of a back burner for a lot of print-on-demand entrepreneurs that are just kind of launching and getting started. It can be daunting to always come up with something new and fresh. Or if you're like me, I always have a content idea. I'll sit down, I'll make it, I'll record it, I'll create it, and then I'll look at it and be like, no, this is stupid. And I don't even put it out there, which is dumb. But it happens. But hopefully this list can give you guys some ideas that will make it easier. So take some notes, because we're only going to say this once. You can rewind it as many times as you want, but we are only going to say it once.
That's right.
So break out your pens, pads, papers, notes app, as long as you're not driving in any of those instances. But listen up, because we're gonna give you some tips and tricks, pointers. So Travis, let's start with the first one. What do we got?
So I mean, this one is no crap, Travis, but number one is to create visually appealing posts. And of course you want to create visually appealing posts. I mean, but it doesn't go without saying
Right.
you need to create visually appealing posts. Etsy buyers value aesthetics. That's the whole thing about Etsy. It's all about aesthetics and making it beautiful. And so you have to make sure you give them that in your social as well. I mean, I've seen so many Etsy sellers' Instagram accounts, and they're just not that great. They're disjointed. They don't look very good. There's not any type of theme, or they're just not visually appealing.
Right.
And you know what? A lot of those accounts that I, see when I'm going on, I'm going, hey, if you like this account, check this account out. I'll see some of their stuff and I'm like, oh, this isn't very good. I'll click on the most recent post and it's from like 2022 because they didn't win, because they weren't creating visually appealing posts. They weren't getting, they weren't, growing an audience with using the aesthetics of the Etsy buyer, the thing that the Etsy buyer wants. And so that's so important. And it really tag teams really well with number 2 on our list, which is consistent branding.
Yeah.
So you really do need to maintain a cohesive visual identity across your social media platforms and your Etsy shop. So you need to make them, similar in feel. You might use the same kind of colors or the same kind of fonts, when you do your your size chart. Maybe those fonts are something that you take from and you put it into your Instagram creations and things like that. So you're using consistent colors, like I said, fonts. You're using themes that makes your brand recognizable and specific enough that people can kind of they know that this particular Instagram account is related to this Etsy shop that they're always talking about, or it's, linked in their profile or whatever. It's really important that it's consistent, and it's not only visually appealing, but it's consistent. And those really do kind of go hand in hand. But I've seen enough at Instagram accounts and enough social media accounts to know that it's not, as much as you can say, well, that's of course you want to do that. It's just not being done very well by a lot of people. So you can really stand out and be above the crowd. You just take those two, you don't listen to anything else. I think those are probably the two most important.
I mean,
use social media.
Yep. And honestly, it's like a play. That's where you want to start. And to your point, it seems very common sense and common knowledge, but there does seem to be a disconnect from people thinking of what their Etsy shop might look like to what their social media feed looks like. And then once they connect those dots or connect that bridge, then keeping that consistent, whether it's color scheme, whether that's, the same font on all of your images, whatever it is, you want to have. I mean, there's a lot of accounts that I follow. One account in particular is a church in Dallas, Texas called Mercy Culture, and their branding is phenomenal. Everything they do is just spot on. So I'm always looking at their stuff for inspiration, or, I've sent messages being like, hey, who does your social media? Because I just want I'll pay you for your time to sit down on a Zoom call and just let's chat some ideas. So that's never a bad idea either. If you want to just reach out to someone that you think is doing well and get some more information or more tips and tricks as well. So yeah, branding is huge. Another thing that can kind of seem common sense is use relevant hashtags. Like, well, yeah, thanks guys. We're 3 points in and I've learned nothing. Nothing new. Again, this is one of the things that, yeah, it seems obvious, but you want to take time and research popular and niche specific hashtags in your posts that will increase your reach. And I know there's different tools out there that you can actually do that. You can search trending hashtags. You can see how many people are searching for that, how many people are clicking on it. One thing that I've done in the past is I will follow hashtags. You have the ability to do that on Instagram. If you didn't know that, now you do. You can go follow specific hashtags on your feed. And why that's advantageous and why that is a good idea, it kind of flows really well into the next point. But I will say print on demand cast. We follow the hashtag print on demand, shirt, t-shirt print shop, entrepreneur, whatever that looks like. You can follow all of those hashtags. And so in your feed, it will say, new in this hashtag. You can see all the posts. And why that's advantageous for you is you can get into the comments and start interacting with the people who are following that hashtag or who have commented on that thing, that they're obviously have an interest as you do, and they might be interested in what you have to offer, whether it's a product. But don't go in there and pitch, and don't go in there and say, well, this guy sucks. The guy that you commented on, he's terrible. My stuff is better. Don't do that. Don't be salesy. Don't be pitchy. Go in there, compliment the post, compliment the photo, add value, whatever that looks like. Just establish a connection in the comment section that's separate from trying to shill your shop. That's secondary. So then you do that often enough and you're in the comments. And I mean, it's one thing we've done with the print on demand cast is we do go and comment on other people's stuff. We'll try and add value. We'll be complimentary. We'll be, very encouraging, just to try and make that connection and let them know, like, hey, we're here to support you. We love what you're doing. This is great. And I'm sure, we could probably figure it out, but I'm sure that's translated into some follows over there on our Instagram account. Just because we like to be in the comments and both of us like to have a good time anyway. So we like to bring the good time to the comments. So that's a t-shirt, maybe, probably not. So anyway, the next point, engage with your audience. So I've talked about this a lot. I talk about it every time I talk about influencer marketing. I always have the story where I learned that not all influencers are created equal and not all influencers are marketers. It's not inherent. And just because you're an influencer doesn't mean that they know exactly what it means to be a marketer. But you're trying to become relevant in your niche. You're trying to,
you're becoming an influencer. That's what you're trying to become.
Right. Yeah. It's the definition of a new influencer is becoming relevant or positioning yourself as an expert in that area or in that particular niche. So respond promptly to comments and messages and mentions. I mean, Facebook, I don't know if Instagram does this yet. I haven't noticed, but Facebook, when you go on a business page and you go to message that person, it tells you responds promptly, usually responds in 3 or 4 days. So, I mean, it's obviously customers are looking at that metric. And so promptly respond to all of those things, mentions, messages, comments, even if it's a thank you or emojis or whatever it is, or heart. I would say don't just heart the comment, but react. Throw an emoji out there. You type emojis all day to your friends. Do it at this point to make a potential customer and friend for life on social media. So, and if it makes enough sense, this is one thing I started to do in What For Apparel, but it was one of those things that also kind of trailed off out of almost, kind of out of necessity. But one thing we would do is I would have What For Wednesdays, and I used to on Wednesdays go live on my Instagram account, and I had a deck of cards that had good engaging questions, and I would bring on a guest and I would ask him a question, and we'd chat back and forth, and then it would be over, and then I'd bring on the next guest. So I did that like probably 2 or 3 weeks just to get engagement up with the followers. I didn't think they had anything that they wanted to ask me and What For Apparel, because we were still fairly new, but I thought, well, we can at least have a party and engage and just talk and see what comes of it. But
you still have those cards?
Maybe somewhere. I need to look.
Oh,
I don't
you
know what
do need to
happened to
look.
them.
I don't know why you haven't done that for print on demand, Cass. Jeez.
I don't know, because I don't know what the cards are. But yeah, I mean that'd be fun to do on our Instagram
Yeah.
channel too. Just hop on and ask questions, or have them ask us questions, or just talk about something not
Mhm.
related to the industry and just have fun. But if it's appropriate, if you have enough followers, I
Yeah.
mean, I would say, I don't know, Travis, what's that threshold? What's enough followers to constitute? Because I mean, if you have 15, it's going to be a lonely live, you know. So you just got to gauge that.
I mean, I think, not all influencers are created equal, but not all follower counts are created equal either. So, you might have 500 followers and they're like just really passionate and excited about your niche and they really look up to you. Or you could have 5,000 and half of them are bots, or just or just people that like found you randomly
Yeah.
and they, kind of they follow thousands of people and so you're just one drop in a bucket of followers that they
Right.
follow or
Right.
people that they follow. So I mean it really depends. It kind of goes back to your how you're already interacting. So, I don't think there's a magic number. I just think it's, if you have a group of people, if you have an audience that's actually that you're engaging with and that's actually responding to you, um, I think that's quote unquote enough, to do
Right.
something like, a Q&A session or a go live or something like that. Throw out a
Right.
poll,
Yep.
and see what people are interested in specifically. That'll also help you come up with more social media content, by the way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
you know, engage your audience in different ways. Run a contest,
Yeah.
give away something that people like to get free stuff. So, ask a question, give something away randomly, and you'll get a lot of answers. Just encourage that engagement because, honestly, that Instagram algorithm really likes engagement. And
Yeah.
so they could theoretically put your stuff, higher on somebody's wall or, reel, or I don't know what do they call it? Feed, that one. Because you're getting so much engagement. So because they're all about time on platform, and so
Right.
if somebody's typing out a message to you, that means more time is spent on Instagram's platform. So it makes
Right.
sense they'd put you higher in somebody's feed to get that engagement. So the more things you can do to engage with your audience, potentially you know the more exposure you're going to get. And guys, um more exposure equals more potential followers. And
Right.
I think that's the whole reason we're having the show.
Yeah.
um More followers doesn't necessarily translate to more sales, but I would say comparatively more followers versus less followers, you're probably going to get more sales if you have more followers. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, yeah, more you. Thank you for adding that because that was perfect.
You're welcome. Yeah, for sure. And again, this whole like live Q&A contesting on TikTok, it's like part of your user or content creator metrics is how often you go live and who do you
Mm,
interact with. I mean, it's huge. You see, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that like to host debates, which I think is just the most asinine thing in the world because it's just, I won't even get into it, but it's so stupid. However, it's genius in the fact that there are thousands of people watching this uninformed TikTok content creator debate another uninformed TikTok user, and they've
mhm.
got 35,000 people watching these two, you know, just walk in circles around each other like the three blind mice. So it's great for viewership. It's just the content makes me want to eat an ice pick through the eye. So all that to say, it is just it's very smart. It's very engaging. Another thing you can do is product. That's not even an actual word, but I said it. So
True international effort to pressure.
so product teasers and sneak peeks. Another way to create engagement, create anticipation. You know how you will the more anticipation you can garner really can be reflected by how much you engage your audience. If you've got an audience engaged and you have great engagement and they're following you. They love your story. They love you. They love everything. You can get people really excited to see a product that you're about to release.
Yeah.
And create anticipation by sharing sneak peeks of upcoming products or the design process. I don't know. I don't think we have this as a point, but I would say also kind of behind this BTS, behind the scenes content
Mm,
on what you're
yep.
doing. I follow an account on TikTok called Elijah's Extreme Hot Sauce, and all that thing is him packing orders every day, upgrading people's orders, telling the story about the hot sauce. Look at his warehouse. I mean, it's a father and son business. It's incredible, and the content is simple, but I feel like I'm being allowed to see some cool stuff because I see the
Yeah.
packaging, I see all the behind the scenes. That's also really huge. People love to be brought into the behind the scenes of the process.
Yeah. And I mean, all of these different ideas are hopefully giving you kind of um, a lot more options for when you're sitting down to kind of create some social media, you
Yeah.
know, uh, content to promote your Etsy store because there's so many of those Instagram or Twitter or what or Facebook, TikTok, and all they're doing is just showing their stuff over and over and over again. And I'll tell you,
Yeah.
who did we have on? I remember we had somebody on a while back, and they shared the point that no one likes to watch commercials all the time.
Yeah.
They're gonna turn it off eventually because it's just not engaging. It's not something that we're used to. We don't want to be used to it. We don't want to be
Right.
sold to all the time. We need story.
Yeah.
And so some of these, all of these things are kind of hopefully giving you ideas to create story. And that's the next one I think is a great another idea that can really help your store. And we're specifically talking about user generated content. And this is super, super cool. Um, Basically, what this idea is, you encourage customers to share photos of themselves using your products, and then they tag your shop, they tag you, they tag your brand. You can even offer discount codes
Yep.
to those people that are sharing, pics of them using your products. I mean, that's a great way to get this user generated content, and then after they post, you can even repost, and then you give
Yep.
credit to those customers. Um, on your social media accounts. So, I mean, there's so much repurposing happening here. The customer's getting your product, they're taking a picture and sharing it on their thing. So that's going out to all of their people, and then you're taking it and you're reposting it and you're sharing it on your thing, and it's going out to all those people. And then if you have your own shop, your own site like a Shopify or something, you can also
Right.
get permission to share those pics on that site as well as social proof. Hey, here's a bunch of people that are really enjoying our products,
Right.
and social proof is huge. That is one of the best ways to create the trust that is required for someone to purchase something on your site. If they see other people enjoying it, using it,
Yeah.
and it just there's so many options you can do with user generated content. So I highly recommend you create something, a post, hey, share this with, on your side, take a picture, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. We'll give you a discount for 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever your margins can take. And you'll be amazed what can happen when you start using user generated content in your social media strategy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, it lets them feel like they're a part of your story, or that they bought the product and you appreciate them, and they feel like they have buy-in or skin in the game or a part of the story. They're they're sold. I mean, it means a lot
Yeah.
to your customers, more than you would think. For sure, to be able. I mean, I had a TikTok influencer that I worked with who wanted content ideas, and I said, hold a contest,
Hmm.
and then let that person or have a contest from this day to this day. Whoever buys a shirt, they send in a proof of purchase, and then whoever wins gets to decide your content for your next TikTok video, their favorite bit, their
Nice.
favorite skit, their favorite whatever. They get to decide what that looks like for you, and their idea gets to go to your million followers or whatever. So stuff
Right.
like you can be really creative with what you do, with user generated content as well. So um, you can also showcase customer reviews, which again is kind of social proof, based
Hmm.
like user generated content. Um, But share positive reviews and testimonials from your satisfied customers. It builds trust with potential customers, demonstrates the quality of your products, and you can ask those who've left you great feedback to share photos of themselves using your product on the review. Again, see previous point about generated user content.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, these are basically, very similar, but yeah, anytime you can get, um, you can get testimonials or pictures or images of other
Yeah,
people using your product. The social proof thing is very real, and there's so many ways that you can go about getting that, from contests, like you said, to just literally just asking people, hey, please leave me a review after they buy something. You have a follow-up strategy that we've talked about in previous episodes that you're
right.
following up with them, and you have like some type of sequence where you email them and say, or message them through the Etsy app and just say, hey, I hope you enjoyed your thing. If you have any problems, contact me. If you really enjoyed it, please consider taking a picture, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
If you do, I'll send you a 10% off. I mean, there's so many ways that you can um, get that social proof so you can use it in, other places besides
right.
Etsy. And it looks pretty good on Etsy too, when you get a
Yeah,
lot of nice reviews and a lot of them have pictures of,
for sure.
so it's a win-win-win. Isn't that
Yeah,
what Michael
couple
Scott said?
wins.
Yeah.
I want to win.
All right, so you like Travis's point, you can promote sales and discounts as well. Again, easy social media tool here. You can use it doing your stories, your posts. You can promote sales. You can promote, limited run items
Mm,
that are available for a limited amount of time. You just post announcements, promote sales, discounts, offers exclusively to your social media followers. That's one way you can get them to you're like, hey, if you want this discount, I'm running a sale. If you want the discount code, it can only be found on my YouTube. And
right.
that's the only place you plug your discount or your sale for that, week, month, whatever. Just to drive people to a certain place
Mhm.
to get that kind of content or to get that special access, which is great. And remember, use a code so you can track the effectiveness of what you're doing.
Mhm.
That's the great thing about discount codes is you can see proof on the back end of how many people used it, how many you gave out, how many people used it, how much money you generated, or how much they saved in total, whatever that looks like. But you want to track that metric because you want to make sure that what you're doing is working. And all that to say, that's I guess relative or subjective. Working. I mean, if five people came to your YouTube just to get the discount code, that's a win because now you have 5 subscribers, you have 5 more people looking at your content. So I guess the term working or winning is subjective, but for whatever metric you have set to determine what that looks like, you want to make sure that what you're doing is at least meeting that point.
Right. Yeah, totally agree. The next one we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks,
Yeah,
collaborations and influencer marketing. Now, we've been talking about influencer marketing on the side of like, hey, let me produce your products, Mr.
right,
Influencer.
right,
This is a spin on that. You're still, contacting these people, but you're actually hoping that they will use their influence for your brand.
correct.
This is huge. And of all of the like potential marketing strategies that can really blow up a potential brand,
Hmm.
I think influencer marketing, getting the right influencers in your niche to promote your products, even if you have to pay them a little bit, I think
Yep.
it can be so, so huge. You can get so many more followers if you've, done what we've said in the previous points and you've got a really nice Instagram or whatever, and somebody comes, checks it out, they're likely going to follow you.
Right.
And then from then that means that they're at the top of your sales funnel, and
Right.
eventually, hopefully, as they see more and more of your content, they could eventually buy. They might not buy right away, but you have that person in your funnel now, and you wouldn't have had you not had that influencer wearing your shirt or drinking your coffee mug or
Right.
whatever that thing is. So yeah, so if you're interested in more influencer marketing stuff, I would recommend listening to our past 2 shows, episode
Yep.
158 and 159 and
159 and
160.
160. Yep.
Yeah. Because you can learn a lot from that from a different perspective, but I think a lot of it really does apply to this. You talked specifically on episode 159 about how to reach out to people and
Yeah.
not, just being a human as opposed to a salesman.
Yeah.
I think that's really important in this particular point.
Right, exactly. And on episode 159, I mentioned, there's two types of different influencer marketing, and reference that the first kind is what we're talking about here, where you go and you ask someone in your niche to promote your product. And I, talked about how Madeline had done that with her
Mhm.
Instagram store as well, which is great. And it is a content swap. I mean, technically, when we have people on the show that have platforms or social media follower, whatever, and we ask them, hey, would you mind after we're done recording, we say, hey, if you wouldn't mind sharing it, that'd be great. If not, I get it. And usually people are like, oh yeah, I totally would be happy to share your
Yeah,
content on my platform because I'm here, or vice versa. When we go on another show and they've
right.
shared on their platform, that's collaboration. That's
Yeah.
influencer marketing as well, as
Dr
helping each other out.
um, Drew from Kittle actually is a great example of that.
Right.
He came on our show a few weeks ago. I helped, went on his YouTube Coffee with Kittle a
Mhm.
few weeks. He just released it like a week ago, and I saw like a lot of people signing up for our email list just once it came
Yeah.
out, and then I literally went to that YouTube video yesterday, I think, and there were so many different people just having questions and saying, "Oh,
Right.
this was great. This was awesome. What do you think about this?" And I just spent probably a half hour just going through and, responding to different people's
Right.
comments and everything. And it really did it helped people from our universe be aware of Coffee with Kittle, and
Right.
it allowed people from the Coffee of Kittle universe to be aware of the print on demand cast. So collaboration are huge. And it's very similar to influencer marketing. But yeah, I highly recommend thinking through that and what it looks like with your specific Etsy shop
Yeah.
and your specific niche on Etsy, how you can do collaborations and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. Next one, content calendar. A little design or a little different from the design calendar you'll get by signing up for our newsletter at printondemandcast.com. But I guess shameless plug. Not really shameless. It's just
That was
you'll get
awesome.
it. It's there. It's amazing, and you're going to want to use it, especially why? Because fourth quarter is coming up, and there's
Mhm.
other holidays in betwixt now and then that you will want to take advantage of that calendar. So
Yes, sir.
just do it. That's two in one show. It's a golden
Wow.
nugget. No, listen, you can plan and schedule your social media posts in advance using a content calendar. You can have that calendar if you have a business page on Facebook and the Meta Business Suites. That can be your content calendar. You can schedule out
Hmm.
to go to Facebook and to go to Instagram at the same time. There's third-party things that you can subscribe to do the same thing if you don't want to use Meta, or you can go old school and just use an actual calendar. If you
Yeah.
want to. I mean, we sometimes use Buffer to schedule some stuff out. It just depends on how many platforms you're on. As you grow,
Mhm.
you're probably going to go on more platforms, but you want to have a calendar nonetheless to say, where and when you're going to post and what you're going to post. You can
Yeah.
always ask ChatGPT for some ideas when
Mhm.
making an actual calendar with your content ideas. ChatGPT is a good resource for stuff like. I mean, it works great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can
So
also
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you can also re-listen to this with an idea of what are the pieces of content that I want to have reoccurring on my content calendar.
Right.
But whatever you do, I mean, I highly recommend if it's digital, if it's physical, it doesn't matter. Um, you need to plan it out first. It's just
Right.
not, get a buffer account or a lately account and just I'm gonna just post all the time and I'm gonna schedule all my stuff. Well, what are you posting? What are you
Right.
sharing?
Right.
You have to have that idea first. You have to create it first. Then you can use a buffer or a lately or a
Right.
Facebook Meta Suite, all of
Right.
those things. Um, but it has to be created first. So what are you going to do with it?
Right.
What are you going to do first and foremost? And so there's a planning period. And you can use all of these things that we've talked about. You can ask ChatGPT, like you said, but you have to have something that you're actually going to create before you can schedule it.
Right. Exactly. So then along those lines of content, you want to create shareable content. Likely the easiest thing to do on the list is just have fun with the content. You don't always have to be
Yeah.
selling. Again, not everyone wants to watch a commercial all the time.
Yeah.
It can be shareable content like memes, infographics, inspirational quotes, anything that isn't
Dad jokes.
necessarily dad jokes,
Mm,
something that's not necessarily in the niche or has to do with your industry or product, but that someone will share and then go look at the rest of your page because like that's actually pretty funny. And let's go see what else these people have to offer. I mean, that happens to me all the time. Like that post is hilarious. I'll click on the account, scroll their content, whatever. But just keep that in mind. You want to balance, like we've said before, selling from something that's more personal or something more shareable
right.
or something behind the scenes, but don't always just say, hey, I sell shirts, because then they'll be like, yeah, I get it, I understand, that's all 500 of your posts or that you sell shirts. So just make shareable content. So
Right.
last but not least, ask people to share. We ask you guys to share our content each and every week. At the end of the show,
Right.
we will ask you without shame, share our content. You have not because you ask not. Remember that.
Ooh,
Yeah. That's
that
the
sounds
thing.
like I've heard that somewhere. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe I've read that
It
somewhere.
sounds familiar. I don't know. Yeah. But it's good. It's
It's
good.
good.
So just encourage your followers to share with their networks,
Yeah.
get your posts out there. Don't be afraid to ask them. Another thing you can do is if you have content and you've got friends and family that are on the platform that you're on, ask them to share. Like, hey, that I guarantee you they'd be more than happy to help
Right.
you and share content. And just to get your brand, your name, your content out there more, people will share that. And all they have to do is just ask. If they say no, then you're in the same place you were before you asked. If they say yes, then someone's going to share your content. And who knows what can come of that.
Yeah. Right on. I
Anything
think
else?
I was just going to say in closing, you know, the whole idea of this was to get your brain kind of, you know, working and thinking through how do I use social media to market my Etsy account. And so I would encourage you to re-listen to this with that, um, kind of mindset
Right.
and do take some notes. Because I think if you can think through some of these ideas, it'll be a lot easier when you go to make that social media calendar, that content
Right.
calendar, because you'll have so many more ideas. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot more, but this can at least get you into some type of a rhythm to where, okay, every week I do this type of thing, this type of thing, this type of thing, and this type of thing, and maybe you only post 5 times, maybe you
Right.
only post 3 times, whatever. But if you're thinking about types of content, hopefully this has helped, kind of grease the wheel a little bit, and it'll go a long way to helping you fill out that calendar.
Right. Absolutely. So thanks guys for listening. As always, we greatly appreciate it. If you have questions and you want to reach out
Attention
to us,
hotline fans.
you can do that, of course, by joining the Facebook group. Printondemancast.com/Facebook is where you can go to join the group, join the conversation, join the community, and ask your questions. If you have other tips, tricks, ideas for social media content, you can let us know there. So be sure to join a request, answer the questions, and we should be good to go. Don't answer the questions, and you shall not pass. A little Gandalf for you. Hope you enjoy. You can also find us on Instagram at printondemancast.com/Instagram and /YouTube is where you can go to find us on those content platforms as well. And of course, printondemancast.com/nothing, not the word, that's a joke, just printondemancast.com. You can go and subscribe to our newsletter and get an extra dad joke each and every week in the newsletter. In the newsletter, you can do that. So
and you can get a
that's free.
design calendar too.
Yeah, and a design calendar. So be sure to do that, to subscribe. And we have a shirt as well. We have shirts. What kind of show would we be if we didn't have shirts? printondemancast.com/shop. And listen, I bought a new shirt. Well, it was a sweater actually on Amazon recently. But unfortunately, yeah. So just kind of going to our return policy here. But I bought a new sweater. It wasn't a shirt on Amazon recently, but unfortunately, it had a lot of static, so I had to call the company and I had to return it.
Hmm.
And they offered me to, send me one free of charge. And that's this week's dad joke of the week under the buzzer. Buzzer beater dad
Buzzer
joke.
beater.
Buzzer-
Nice.
But don't return our shirts because we won't take so
Well, they come static free. So
that's true.
not
They're
free of
static.
charge, but static free.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it having so much static. You'll get shocked. You're going to be fine. So last but not least, wherever you're watching, listening to this, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, I don't know why I said Instagram, Apple Podcasts, do us a favor, leave us a review, leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It'd be super appreciated as well. If you're on Spotify or Apple, you want to leave a review, that'd be greatly appreciated. On Apple, you can leave a star review and a comment. Spotify, just a star review. But again, this is helping us get our content out there by asking you to share the content, to interact with the content, to let the algorithms know at Spotify and Apple that you enjoy this content so that we can be in front of more people who need to hear this for their print-on-demand business. So it's greatly appreciated. Travis, anything else before we send it all the way out?
I think you said it all, my friend. What a great show. What a great, awesome opportunity to talk about print on demand. This is just a beautiful day. Just so happy to be here.
It's a radio voice. Travis. All right. Well, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular show. If you got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.